Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Diary of a Psychic Medium with me, Amber Amrine. We are back. It is spooky season, so we are honoring it and connecting to some ghosts, passing on some spirits in real time. Here we go. I am back. I missed you all. I took an extra week than I had meant to because I had a lot more work to do than I thought. And we're traveling around right now. So between moving frequently with 2 cats to explore new areas of the East Coast, to soul meeting, to sessions, it's just been a lot of things. Thank you for your patience, but I'm excited to be back. Next week is our monthly Mystic Mail episode, so as always, if you have any questions about life, about anything magical or energetic, feel free to shoot them my way. You can send me a DM on Instagram at @channelwithamber. If you're listening on Spotify podcasts, leave a comment with your question. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave a review with your question. All of this engagement really helps my podcast, so do not be shy. All right, because we are in the spooky season and in sessions, it has been coming up quite frequently that obviously the veil is thinner during this period. There have been a lot more ghostly connections, ghostly things happening, magical things happening. So I wanted to open up the door to any ghosts that want to come forward and chat with us. I am in a new area, still getting accustomed to it. I've been here for about a week, but I've also been busy and haven't had much time to explore. So I'm curious to see what kinds of energies come forward. I'm feeling already a headache. This energy feels a little bit dense. It's definitely very masculine. I'm sitting in a chair for those that are listening. And I almost feel his energy kind of sitting on top of mine. I feel like we look similar, actually. He feels fairly tall, pale, dark brown hair that's a little bit longer, very thick hair. My hair is a little bit like thin and wavy, but his is like really thick and dense, and it's a little bit more on like the dark brown to black. Mine is like reddish brown. Yeah, it's kind of trippy because I keep seeing him sitting here and then it's like my vision almost circles so that I'm sitting in front of him and then it wraps around so we're overlaying. This is a younger guy. I feel like he passed in... How old were you, buddy? I want to say between 27 to 34. I'm not getting a clear hit or a clear answer. Just feels like a range, like late 20s, early 30s kind of area. He definitely feels a lot more youthful than he looks. He had 2 kids when he passed. He had a daughter and a son, but the son was a baby. The daughter was very young. I feel like they were here on vacation when he had some sort of accident. Because his energy is coming through a little more dense and I'm feeling a headache and things like that, it does feel like his passing was fairly recent. Not too recent, but recent enough to have a lot of confusion surrounding what happened, as well as having like enough distance or enough time being in the confusion not to have a clear memory of his lifetime. What's so tricky with ghosts are essentially earthbound spirits. When we pass on, if there are things that we have not come to terms with, if there are things that we feel guilty about, feel emotionally strong about, any kind of unfinished business, stuff that we just haven't fully processed or gotten over, it hangs on us so heavily. And we could just let it go. That is what naturally it wants to do. There's this drag that happens as our energy moves back into our soul. So we can just let all of this emotion and stuff go, but it almost has this addictive quality where, especially if you're confused and disoriented, if your passing was abrupt, you're kind of latching on to some sense of understanding. So this is very like mind heavy, very logical, which attaches us to the physical world. So we're going to obsess logically on things because our heart, which is connected to our soul, it bridges our soul, feels so abstract that surrendering to that almost feels like more confusion, when it's actually the opposite, which is what so much of our experience is. I feel like when we want something, we obsess, we fight, we chase, when that just keeps it further from us because we're actively operating in scarcity or fear, whereas if we just let it go and surrender, then we get it. And it's the same thing with ghosts, where when they let go of obsessing about the details and having to know X, Y, Z and da-da-da-da, and just go into the wisdom of their soul, that's when you get clarity. That's when you feel that connection to loved ones. That's when like all the magic happens. So he's been in a state of just really trying to remember and force his connection with the human experience, because he feels like that's where he's ultimately going to get his answers or figure out what happened and why and stuff like that. I see him in a hospital with like an IV, hooked up to a machine. I hear the boop, 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 the heart rate machine or whatever. His family is there. I feel like this might be car related. Either an accident or him getting run over. Ooh, I just felt a pulse in my hand. Was it an accident? Were you hit? I think it was an accident. Yeah, it was an accident. No one else was injured. His daughter may have gotten a little bit of something. She may have hurt her arm. I don't know that it was broken. It may have just been sprained or a light break, if you call it a light break. I think breaks are in, maybe like a fracture rather, because a break is a break. It feels like a light fracture. Everyone else was fine. His energy is making me so sleepy, so drowsy. I feel like that's his experience from the morphine, where even in that time of being in the hospital and like trying to piece things together, he just feels so tired, which prevents him from actually having any connection to the physical. And I feel like he's just kept himself looping that time in the hospital, that moment where he's just trying to like sit in it, waiting for something to click, something to crack. But he's boundless by time, so he can literally go back in time. He can talk to his loved ones. Like, there's so many places he can go, talk to his guides, but he doesn't want to. For him, it feels like asking for help or seeking support, especially when he feels vulnerable, is just off the table. It feels like he needs to do it himself. Like, this is a path he needs to walk on his own to not burden his family. That is obviously coming from a wounded part of his heart, because they want to help. Your guides want to help. That's why they're there. You're not in this alone. And even imposing that to him, he just feels so tired, where he doesn't want to have to do more, say more, figure more out, overcome something. It's just like, God, he's just been stuck in this dense place for so long. But he's also kind of imprisoning himself in it at the same time. What do you need? Well, he liked Coke. I saw a Coke can. Coca-Cola brings him a lot of comfort. It reminds him of being a kid. It reminds him of family, of summertime. July is what's coming up specifically. He likes July. I think 4th of July was his favorite holiday out here. A lot of family, fireworks, barbecue, he loved it. Very family oriented. I feel like he has Latin heritage. So very family oriented. Yeah, he is. He doesn't like loud noises. I think that's kind of related to the accident. They stress him out and he's not sure why. And the thing with energy is because it shifts so much faster than the physical, it doesn't operate the same way. When there's some sort of trigger, especially in an energetic state, that is going to be almost like all-encompassing because it wants to pop. It wants to find a way forward instead of stagnating. Stagnation is not a natural state, I guess, if you want to call it that. The universe is always moving. It's always expanding. It wants to keep going. So stagnation kind of goes in the opposite, you know? So loud noise just feels so all-encompassing, and I feel like his coping mechanism is kind of to freeze, which also makes it feel so uncomfortable. He just keeps kind of going against his natural rhythm for the sake of trying to mentally hold on. All right, I'm going to help this guy pass over, but before we do that, do you have any other messages or anything you'd like to share or chat about? I'm seeing a cricket, a grasshopper. What is this? Cricket? I think it's a cricket. He loves crickets. When he was little, he used to catch crickets and grasshoppers. Yeah, he loved them. He was a bug kid. He loved bugs. And even bringing that memory and sitting in that memory with him and like experiencing the joy as a child of catching one, having it in his hands, letting it go, just that exhilaration. My hands are getting really sweaty. I'm feeling really warm. That love is kind of starting to melt this sense of stress and anxiety. When you're passing over a spirit, all you're doing or all you need to do is essentially bring them back to love. That's all that needs to happen, because love is source. It's God. That's what we're all made out of. That is alignment. And when you help these beings shift back into that, their natural rhythm takes over. There's a lot more ease, a lot more play, a lot more curiosity. So because that feels so effective, I'm going to just sit in more childhood memories. What's interesting is the Coca-Cola, because I thought about that again, but that almost has a sense of longing with it, where it feels like I wish I could just feel those bubbles in my mouth again. There's this sense of just longing for that. Whereas with the catching crickets, that just feels like a fun memory. So I'm going to sit in that. I'm feeling the density in my head. So my lower body, my hips, my hips are feeling so much more open. It feels like warm honey, just spilling and easing any tension there and slowly building up into my solar plexus. There's a lot of tension in the head and the shoulders, and this is because he's trying to hang on mentally. He's trying to conceptualize what's going on so that he can take control or feel in control of it. But because I'm here, because I'm talking, it's helping him trust the process a little bit. I'm just confirming, letting him know that yes, I feel that density too. I feel that tension in the head. It's okay. And I'm just allowing this memory to replay and replay. I'm seeing tall grass and him just going in there. It's like a wild area. Going in there looking for crickets. Very simple. We find one, we let him go. As the sun sets, they get so loud. Just a symphony of crickets. And that memory too, because I am clair-empathic, I connect through emotion most of all. All of my senses kind of come into it, but that's like the heart of my way of tuning in. When I allow my body to fully surrender into an experience, it's essentially allowing their field to do the same. I'm like using my body as a mirror, for them to follow. So I'm fully surrendering into the memory, not even thinking about the task at hand, which is passing him over. I'm just seeing the sky at sunset, hearing the crickets, warm summer breeze. Ooh, just fully allowing myself to slip into that. His energy is starting to ease and soften. I'm seeing a lot of white light now. A lot of white light at the crown of his head. I'm feeling a grandfather energy, so I feel like his grandfather's passed and has been trying to get in touch with him. So his grandfather is starting to embrace him. And it feels very natural because his grandfather was part of these childhood memories. Again, it's very family-oriented, his culture. So it all just makes sense. There's no fighting. Oh, his brain is starting to come in. He's like, wait a second. It's okay, you're safe. Think of the crickets. The crickets, the crickets. Hear the song. You're safe. You're free. Oh, right, his family has him now. Alrighty. I feel like his name was David. I saw this ball of white, so not only was his grandfather there, but other ancestors and friends and stuff that have passed. And it was kind of like they pulled him into this white bubble and all surrounded him in a nice embrace. And at that moment, there was all this clarity that popped in. So I heard the name David. He was 32 years old. All right, well, David is nice and happily back home. Let's bring in another. Okay, so this energy is a little weird. It's making me a little uncomfortable. The way that it's coming through feels like black tar. I don't even feel it having like a human shape anymore. It just looks like sludge that kind of lifts up into a shape and then falls back down. So this feels very dense and sticky. This is more of a feminine energy. But with her, she's been passed a long time. I want to say 40 some years. She's been gone a very long time. She has no connection or memory of what it's like to be human, which isn't normal. You could be past 1,000 years and still, come forward as a human. But in her case, it feels like her family line was so riddled with mental health issues, trauma, toxicity, like all the stuff that her consciousness is just wrapped into all the gunk, which is why it's like fully become it in a way, instead of her feeling like a human being. And what's interesting about that actually is it almost feels like a coping mechanism where, because she was never given the tools to have a healthy life just due to things that were passed down genetically, as well as her upbringing and patterns that she maintained, she's almost coming through as this like monster because she feels like a monster. She has no self-confidence, no sense of self-worth. She just feels like gunk, so might as well come up as gunk. That's all I am. That's all I'm good for, and I just keep like, even me saying that, it's like, yeah, like I feel this fire in my gut where it's like, that feels powerful, which is obviously a very skewed way to view yourself and go about life. So obviously there is some very, very deep wounding with her energy. Yes. So what I feel drawn to do is I'm seeing a candle. Oh, interesting. Okay. So the same way with jack-o'-lanterns are meant to be spooky, So if she's a spooky pumpkin, spooky tar thing, I'm going to put a candle in her, to make it look spooky. But what's actually happening is the fire of the candle is incredibly refreshing, rejuvenating. It transmutes any gunk it's kind of reverse psychology in a way, where she obviously at her core just wants to feel loved and cared for, but is acting in a way opposite of that due to survival. So if I pose this candle like, oh, let's just amplify your spookiness, then it's like, fuck yeah. But we're actually providing some comfort. And I'm going to infuse this candle with Reiki energy. And just to be clear, as I'm doing it, this is all done astrally. This is all intention based. I do not physically have a candle. This is all energy. Visualization, intention. I'm working in the astral field, which mirrors the physical realm, but is not tied to the rules that we have to abide by, such as time, such as physical things manifesting. You know, it's like you can just pop out whatever you want. Sort of like a lucid dream. It's like lucid dreaming in real time. So I'm infusing this candle with Reiki energy. And obviously she's not stupid. Her energy is in my proximity and I'm talking this through as I do it. And she hears that I'm saying that it's like reverse psychology and whatnot. But she feels like such a lost cause. She's like, you can say whatever the fuck you want. It's not going to work, you know, which is why she's still on board. And that also plays on the fact that deep down her heart wants something else. And there's a little bit of hope there, even though she wouldn't admit it, you know, which is also why she's just kind of playing with me. Okay, so I've lit the candle, I've infused it with Reiki, so this Reiki energy is sitting within her womb, or within the sludge. Her sludge is very dense, it's very dark, it's completely devoid of light. So I'm going to have to draw out, magnify the light of this candle. So I do that by essentially just envisioning some holes, like making a face, like a jack-o'-lantern in her sludge body, and allowing the light to just come out, to grow. And as it's growing, I'm starting to feel holes on the back side of her body, on the sides, just all over, sort of like becoming polka dots of this light that's piercing through. And that's essentially just telling me that it's working, that the density of her energy is starting to transmute. And I'm just going to keep doing this until all of the sludge has been completely transmuted. And as that's happening, I'm seeing this like blue misty light take up where the sludge was. So this is telling me that her consciousness, her spirit, is represented by this blue misty light. Okay, so now the sludge is gone. Now we just have this blue misty light. It feels faded. I don't feel like it's meant to be misty or smoky. It kind of looks like if you took a cloud from the sky but made it blue, you know, so it's kind of foggy. You can't really see through it, which is kind of representing there's some, you know, bigger things needing to be addressed here. She feels very protective about these things. What's good about her situation is because she's been gone for so long, there's almost no memory of what exactly she's carrying or why. It's just like, oh, this is just what I've always done. There are certain things that like amplify it, so I'll lean into that, such as that like self-hatred. But other than that, she doesn't know why it's there. She doesn't fully remember it, which makes it easier for me to clear it out. So I am going to go into her energy, into this misty blue bubble of light. And I am going to radiate Reiki energy through my field. I'm calling in some archangel light, so we're getting some nice golden energy coming through my crown, pushing out of my pores, and filling her little bubble. She feels a little reluctant to fully allow this light, but at the same time, something about it feels very satisfying. So I feel this internal struggle, and there's nothing I can say to necessarily comfort her. She doesn't want to hear it. just because of how her wounding is. So I'm just going to keep playing with it just to kind of build some curiosity. Curiosity is such a powerful tool because it bypasses our walls, our reluctance, and pushes us back into a state of ease. It reconnects us with our heart. We become more of an active collaborator. Okay, so she's given in a little bit, so now I'm completely filling this bubble with golden light. I'm going to remove myself. I feel a little bit of reluctance from her. You're okay. I'm still here. I'm just not going to be within you. Okay, I'm pulling myself out. I'm feeling the boundaries around her energy field melting, which is good because it felt like she was keeping herself like othered. So the energy is melting. You're good. I'm amplifying her energy, her light, making it all encompassing. These archangels have her. All right, and I feel like they are taking her energy to bring back into presence. So in this scenario, the archangels have got her. I'm just going to stay like massaging her blue light. I do feel her really wanting to have some sort of connection to Earth since she's been here for so long. So I'm going to just paint her as the sky since her color is blue anyways. We're setting that intention now. Anytime we look at the sky, her energy will be there. She loves people watching, so that will also be nice for her. And of course, she could do that anytime. She doesn't need any permission, but because she's not sure of the rules and feeling a bit disconnected, sometimes just giving them ideas or assigning them somewhere is just a little comforting. So, okay. I'm going to imagine putting some stars in her energy so she has access to that light. Her energy is so stubborn because I feel it shifting, but then it kind of pulls back into density. You're okay. All right, and she's gone. I felt the density kind of drop down like a plop, and then her energy scatter like sprinkles, or sparkles rather, all over the sky. I infused some pure divine love into the dense stuff, so I saw that transmute and burst, going back to source energy. All right. And it is done. Gonna invite one more energy, one last energy to come forward. Oh, interesting. This was human, but now they're a shadowy being. I'm seeing the shape of a human, but they're all gray static. They're standing in front of me. They had a lot of, what's it called? A lot of shadows, skeletons in the closet. They had drinking problems, gambling problems, sex issues, like a lot of addictions, and no control of them. It was all a coping mechanism. They were very much operating in an all or nothing kind of state. And their energy isn't really dense, to be honest. It's like kind of skewed, so it doesn't feel like warm, loving human energy, but they feel more protective, where it's sort of like if somebody's going through something, if they've got their issues and aren't strong enough to address it, this guy just feels a lot better to be more earthbound and like give them cues and signs to support them rather than them just having to figure it out on their own, or rather than him kind of passing over and it just being a little bit more all-encompassing, this feels like a conscious choice for him to be more earthbound because he's able to do more work here. And I think because his energy has pure intentions in that, that's why it's not really human-like. Like I can't see any features, any hair. It's like literally like a human-shaped gray static thing. There's something about it that doesn't feel fully human. So he's kind of turned into more of an interdimensional being that's here to support people going through inner demons, fighting with inner demons. And I think he's coming forward to really just share that not every energy that is earthbound is lost, is stuck. Some choose to be here, and they're willing to like make that sacrifice, you know, to keep helping humanity. So if there is some sort of energy in your home, rather than being quick to shoo them away or set boundaries, he's inviting everyone to ask questions. You know, they're just a person. They're just a thing, the same way that you are a thing. Open up conversation, because they may even be coming forward to help you. Like your soul or your spirit team may have actually called on this being because they can make a little bit more of an impact than just energetic beings, you know, because they can actually manipulate things. Maybe when you're about to, you know, do something that you know you shouldn't do, or that you've been struggling to not do, like the light starts to flicker, or you hear a sound that like gets your attention, you know, they're just able to physically manifest, or even see a shadow in your peripherals that might spook you. Or the opposite, just like somebody calls right when you need to talk to somebody, whatever it is. These denser multidimensional beings can provide more support when we're feeling really disconnected from source. So just understand that the energies around us don't always mean harm, need to be helped. Sometimes they're here to help you. And that's really all he's got to say. Yeah. I saw this like nice cobalt blue. His energy feels gone, and in the place is like this imprint of this cobalt blue now cut out of a body, which is interesting. Very cool. Well, happy spooky season. Thank you for spending some time with me as we connect and help pass on various spirits. I hope you enjoy your spooky pals as well. Again, last reminder, our Mystic Mail episode is next week, so send me your questions. I'm sending you all my love, my friends. Have a wonderful Halloween. I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for listening to Diary of a Psychic Medium with me, Amber Amrine. To learn more about me, book a session, learn about my mentorship program, all that good stuff, you can visit channelwithamber.com. Follow me on Instagram at channelwithamber. Special thank you to Unicorn Heads for my theme song, A Mystical Experience. I'll see you next time.